Hey guys, Rob here with McDojoLife. In today's McDojo news, a verdict has finally been reached in the 2017 murder case of an MMA fighter in Florida. Let's check out the story. The jury reached a verdict Tuesday afternoon in the state of Florida versus Robert Ortiz case. Aaron Rajman had just celebrated his 25th birthday a week prior to being shot to death during a home invasion in West Boca Raton, Florida back in 2017. The state and defense each presented their closing arguments for approximately an hour ahead of the jury.
That gun was fired, it wasn't fired once, and it wasn't fired twice. 3 times. With each pull of the trigger, you know what you're doing. Every single time.
Over the last 8 days, jurors had heard from numerous witnesses, including law enforcement. The court records show Aaron was dealing drugs from his West Palm Beach home and was targeted for the marijuana and cash he had there. Palm Beach Sheriff's Office officials said an altercation ensued when Aaron, known as the only Orthodox Jewish professional MMA fighter, was fatally shot before Ortiz and Swinton fled the scene. State attorneys argued that all evidence, including his fingerprints on the lid of the scale to weigh marijuana, pointed to Ortiz. Officials said a group of people contributed to the July 3rd robbery, with then 16-year-old Summer Church and 18-year-old Jace Swinton helping. Those two pleaded guilty in 2019 and were sentenced to 10 years behind bars, in addition to another 10 years of probation. Ortiz's lawyer argued that state attorney's case was inconsistent with their witness testimonies and alleged that Church and Swinton were putting more of the blame on Ortiz to minimize their intent.
The two that are sitting in prison are by far the more culpable in this whole thing. They have more to gain by throwing everything onto this man, who sits here today facing a first-degree murder charge.
Aaron's mother made a few remarks after the jury reached a verdict, saying her son was, quote, a decent, kind human being. Jurors deliberated for about 2.5 hours Tuesday afternoon before finding Roberto Ortiz guilty of first-degree murder and 2 counts of home invasion robbery in the 2017 incident, more than 5 years after Aaron's death.
We, the jury, find as follows. As to count 1, we find the defendant guilty of first-degree murder as charged in the indictment.
Circuit Court Judge Howard Coates initially sentenced Ortiz to 3 consecutive life terms, but vacated the decision Wednesday and ordered a pre-sentence investigation. Ortiz is now scheduled to be sentenced in October. An indictment charging Ortiz, who was 18 at the time, and 2 other defendants, said that swords, marijuana, narcotics, a scale, and money were stolen from the residence south of Palmetto Park Road in what appeared to be a targeted home invasion. This was no random act of violence, State Attorney Dave Ehrenberg said in a statement at the time of the arrests. Aaron was targeted by these defendants, and we intend to seek justice for the victim and his family. 3 other defendants, Alton Anders, age 33, Austin Baker, age 30, and Cameron Burgess Clark, age 28, are each awaiting trial on 1 count of first-degree murder and 2 counts of home invasion robbery. Baker's trial is scheduled to begin September 16th, and Burgess Clark's trial is set to begin in October. A trial date has not yet been set for Anders, whose next court hearing is scheduled for September 14th. During Ortiz's trial, jurors found prosecutors proved he was armed the night Aaron was killed, but did not prove that he fired the weapon. Court records released when Ortiz was indicted by a grand jury did not specify who did fire the fatal shot. Aaron had a pro MMA record of 2-3 at the time of his death and trained at the famed American Top Team, his last fight taking place in October of 2016. Let's unpack this. Stories like this suck, man. You hate to see it happen. You know, anybody dying really sucks in this way. This dude was selling drugs at his house. Because of that, it seemed like he was the target of a home invasion, specifically because he was doing that. They wanted to steal the drugs and possibly money, and then things happened, and he got shot and killed. I'm not sure if the intent was to shoot and kill him when they arrived or just to rob him, but no matter what, the results are still the same. A man's dead now because of their actions. Their lives are now all ruined. The fighter has passed away because he was killed during this invasion. These kids, they were children basically when they did this. One was 16 years old at the time. Their lives are done. 2 of them are going to be spending 10 years in prison. The other one is probably going to be serving at least 3 consecutive life sentences, although they're going to be resentencing, so we'll see what happens there. It sounds like, from what I gathered from the story, 2 of them are probably pointing fingers at one of them, but at the end of the day, they all are just as guilty. They all walked through that door, they all were involved in this, and they all should be ashamed of themselves for what happened. I feel really bad for the victim's family. You know, that person's not going to be around anymore because of a home invasion / murder. It is horrendous, and you hate to see it. Hopefully this is a learning experience, though, for some people out there. Maybe there's a teenager who's listening to something like this, and you see a story like this, and then you have some friends who want you to go do some dumb with them. And you listen to what they have to say, and then you remember this story, and you think, all of these people's lives are ruined because there were some people who all joined in together to do something dumb as a group. Don't do it. If you have some friends out there and you're a teenager and they're saying, hey man, we should go do this highly illegal thing, you might want to think about what happened with these people because their lives are done, and think about, do you really want someone's murder on your conscience because you decided to go off and do something as dumb as this? Because that's what resulted in this case. I'd love to know your thoughts about this in the comment sections below. Be sure to write them, and I'll be sure to read them. As always, thank you all for the likes, comments, shares, subscriptions, and all that other crap people online tell you to do. Keep the martial arts legit.
Things just haven't been the same, living strange since